We begin with the demonstrations against Wall Street. Tyler Kembelik is with the Occupy Wall Street movement. Tyler, thank you so much for being here. Please help us define what this movement represents.
This movement is really a call to arms to the American people to get involved in the political process again, above all else. We want an active democracy in this country. We want everybody to get informed on the issues, and really, if they have frustrations they want to get out. We think something's wrong in corporate America. If you think something's wrong in government, let your voice be heard, because if enough of us come out and we speak our minds and we say what we think is wrong and how to fix it, government has to listen, corporate America has to listen, and we can really start making a change for the American people rather than for corporate greed. What
are the issues that tie everyone down there on Wall Street together? What's the common denominator, as you see it, of the people who are showing up?
Economic justice is definitely one of our biggest issues. We have libertarians down here, we have socialists down here, and everyone in between, Republicans, Democrats, and they all feel like there's something very unjust about our current economic climate, whether it be the corporate influence in government, whether it be lobbyist influence. And that's definitely one of our largest rallying cries. And the thought of accountability. Why is no one going to jail over the fact that billions were stolen from the American people after the recession in these last 5 years? Why is it that government can just say, oops, we're sorry over the fact that Freddie and Fannie failed, and we're just angry that the idea of accountability does not apply to those in power.
Allow me to put on the screen what we pulled from your website that discusses what the group is all about. And it says, Occupy Wall Street is a leaderless resistance movement with people of many colors, genders, and political persuasions. The one thing we all have in common is that we are the 99% that will no longer tolerate the greed and corruption of the 1%. We are using the revolutionary Arab Spring tactic to achieve our ends and encourage the use of nonviolence to maximize the safety of all participants. It occurs to me that the group that you're not representative of, you know, it's not all greed and corruption. I mean, Michael Bloomberg is a very successful and very wealthy guy. Steve Jobs is a very successful and very wealthy guy. Warren Buffett. I mean, so it's not a campaign against all those who are wealthy, is it?
No, it's not a general blanket statement that if you're in the 1%, you are somehow bad. But it is a statement that the 1% currently get tax breaks and certain laws that give them a certain edge that the average American doesn't. Warren Buffett's secretary, as President Obama said the other day, should not be paying more taxes than Warren Buffett. And we want an equal playing field where everyone has the same chance to fulfill the American dream.
Are you a supporter of free market capitalism?
I personally absolutely am. I run my own web design business, and without this free market capital system, I wouldn't be able to get to where I am.
Some have described this movement in revolutionary terms. You could see how it would easily be painted with a broad brush as something that seeks to overturn capitalism as we know it.
I think that the word revolution scares a lot of people because they assume that means overthrow of the government. But I think we need to have revolutionary ways of thinking about how do we go forward as a nation? Do we want to just fix the current system, or are there ways that we can change the current system in which is going to benefit every single American equally?
Tyler Kembelik,
that's really the discussion we want.
Many thanks for your time. We appreciate your being here.
Thank you very much for having me on.
David Corn is an MSNBC political analyst and the Washington editor of Mother Jones magazine. David, is this good news at the White House as they're watching the footage that we've just shown? How's it being received?
My guess is that it's not a big enough matter yet for the White House to worry about. And, you know, we're all sort of watching this fledgling movement and trying to discern if it's going to, you know, continue and get bigger. The unions this week, as you know, in New York City and elsewhere, have been endorsing and have, more importantly, been contributing bodies and money to try to expand this movement and, you know, maybe give it a little more political or ideological coherence. We'll see if that takes down the road or not. You know, bad weather is coming in New York City in a couple of weeks. Will people be able to maintain the presence in the park in sufficient numbers that the media doesn't just blow this away as a flash in the pan?
I'm wondering how it plays in middle America. I'm wondering how it plays in the minds of independents who are going to play a critical role. And I ask you to keep that thought in mind as I roll for you a montage of some of the voices of protesters from around the country. Let's all watch and listen.
Sure.
This is the beginning, really, of a people's movement, a people's revolution, nonviolent, if you will, in this country, and frankly, it cannot be ignored.
It's for all of you who are tired of watching the banks get bailed out while we get sold out.
Wealth disparity, corporate personhood, these things are unacceptable while millions are on the streets starving.
We as North Carolinians have to stand up against the bank corruption and the greed that is going on Wall Street.
There's the rich, then there's the poor, and then there was us. And the rich are stepping on our necks. They're trying to squash us down. But this is called an uprising, and we are taking back what is ours.
David, nobody could quarrel with the existence of income disparity that exists today, but when you voice it in terms of a people's revolution, I'm not so sure that plays so well for the D's in Middle America if this gets tied to that end of the scale, politically speaking.
Yeah, I don't know if it's going to be tied to the Democrats. So the Republicans were much more closer, ideologically speaking, to the Tea Party types than the Democratic Party is to the people in Zuccotti Square. For a social movement to succeed, I do think you need to connect with Middle America to a certain degree, and people watching, even if they agree with the sentiment. I think the sentiment here is an 80% proposition in this country, and that is that Wall Street and corporate America has gotten too much power, and they, quite frankly, have abused it. They abused it in the last few years. They have too much influence in the political system. I think independents are down with that. I think they understand that. But I think the challenge here is to make the connection with people beyond your, the anarchist drum circle types who are there. And I know they're trying. A good comparison is what happened in Wisconsin, where you had demonstrations by teachers, firefighters, and police officers and others who really sort of brought the surrounding community in and supported them, and they channeled a lot of electoral power that really caused a problem for Republican
I think a lot of people are home, on the sofa or in their Barca lounger, and they're looking at that and they're saying, do I see myself there? Do I see anyone with whom I have a common denominator? Let me ask you another political question. Mitt Romney said this was dangerous class warfare. Today, presidential candidate Newt Gingrich weighed in on the Occupy Wall Street protesters. Here's what he said.
So, I can't imagine a sadder commentary on the failure of the Obama presidency. This was their candidate. This was the guy who was bringing them hope, change we can believe in, transparency, bipartisanship. These demonstrations are the deepest proof of Obama's bankruptcy as a leader of anything you could see.
Newt says it's a sad commentary on the Obama presidency.
That is one of the most ridiculous comments I've ever heard from Newt, which really raises the bar pretty high. Because if Obama had been doing what a lot of these demonstrators wanted him to do, Newt would be the first one out there saying that was bankrupt. So he's just being exploitative and opportunistic, and it's not a serious comment. What we'll see here is that these protesters are tapping into a wide sentiment. 2 years ago, I wrote a piece from Mother Jones magazine asking, where's the anger? Where's the resentment from Middle America about what was happening with bailouts and other matters? It seemed muted at the time. But while Obama went ahead and supported the bailout, and I think saved the financial system from its own excesses, and did so with the auto bailout steps that were very unpopular, but perhaps saved the economy from going over a bigger cliff.
I would just say to you that I think it matters greatly, and this puts a lot of power in the hands of the media, who or what group of individuals become the face of this movement. I remember there was a Tea Party event in Washington where Congressman Lewis was subject to some ugly behavior. And the more people you get together, you've always got kooks in the crowd. And if some misbehave, it will characterize this group.
That's always a problem and a risk for mass movements. You can't control it. The question now is, can it expand beyond the circle that got it going and make those connections with the people on the Barca loungers that you talk about?
Right.
Those people feel the anger, and I think they feel the same fear.
David, I agree, but they're trying to decide. They're trying to decide, is this my movement? And I think the jury is still out. Thank you. I appreciate
agree with you on that.
Thank you.